Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast that's been dedicated to bringing you the highs and lows of crushes, but we're shaking things up for the next couple of months to crush on a whole decade. Yep, we're talking about all things 90s by breaking it down year by year with some familiar faces, well, voices, like today's guest, Jon Reilly, the host of Life's But a Song and the co-host of Movie Deja Vu, who is here to talk about the year that drafted many a tween and teen into a boy band war, 1999. Jon, how are you?
I am so excited to live out my I love the 90s fantasy, finally.
Right? I was like, when I was younger, I was like, I want to be on that show.
Yes.
So bad.
Yes. Which didn't start until like later than 1999. But listen, they talked about it.
I mean, I love the 70s. I love the 80s. I love the 90s. It's been 20 years. I feel like we'll get a I love the aughts, but VH1 kind of has ditched that greatness for Love and Hip Hop, Black
and other reality television shows. Yeah.
Some questionable things that aren't Rock of Love, because that was peak TV for me. Oh, I live for a Flavor of Love marathon. Can you tell us where we can find you and all your shows online?
Sure. You basically anywhere you're listening to this, you can listen to Movie Deja Vu and Life's But a Song. And really the Instagram accounts for each are poppin'. So you can find Movie Deja Vu at Movie Deja Vu Pod and at But a Song Pod on Instagram for both of them.
All right, they're popping. And let's kick this off. What were you doing in 1999? Where was Jon in 1999? Because for me, I was glued to my TV watching TRL like it was a religious experience.
Oh yeah, I was in the later part of the year. I was in 6th grade. I remember that. Yes, I'm dating myself, everyone, because I have a very strong memory of doing one of those current event. Remember current events? Like you had to find a newspaper clipping and then write out like what it's about, who is it about, blah blah blah. Answer the who, what, when, where, why, how of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did one on Y2K. And I'll never forget it because Y2K was it in the last half of the year, maybe the last quarter of the year.
It was frightening.
It was they built it up, and then it was, for modern audiences, it was like Murder Hornets, where it was in the news and then it was out.
I know, but where are they today, Murder Hornets? Dun, dun, dun.
They are waiting for, hey, 2023, new year, new them.
They're like, we're coming back.
but I think I was, I like you was glued to the television as well, between MTV that I probably shouldn't have been watching, or like, you know, looking back, because I was like 11 at the time, so maybe I there were some shows that I probably was a little too young for, but like whatever. And then also Nickelodeon, that was my station.
And before we get into the thick of it, I'd love to know why All Star by Smash Mouth and Weird Al's Running with Scissors was just like it for you musically that year.
Okay, so All Star is a jam and no one can argue with that. Mm-hmm. Like even if you hate the song, you have to be like, you will be bopping along with it, you know? And then Running with Scissors with Weird Al, like that is one of the first albums I remember like listening to the whole album. Like, you know, because, you know, usually you listen to the top hits of the songs when you bought the CDs and everything. Yes, CDs, everyone. This was still before MP3s and all that. So Weird Al's album was just so funny, and like I loved Weird Al. And then Smash Mouth, like, I don't know, they've just become synonymous with like late 90s, early aughts music. Also, I think it's funny too that there was a musical made where all the music was just different versions of All Star. So that's why I also picked it.
Wow, I'll have to check that out. That sounds amazing.
I don't know if it really went anywhere, but I remember hearing about it and I was like, I need this in my life.
I hope it went at least somewhere for a week, you know?
Yes.
I hope there's video or something of it, or maybe a recording. But I like how you said that was kind of like the first album that you listened to all the way through, because I think that is a big thing. Back in the 90s, you could buy just the singles. People don't realize that. It was like downloading one song, but we went to the store and paid like $3 for one song. Wild times.
It was usually the one song and then maybe like a remix or two of it. So it wasn't just one track.
It was 4 of the same song, but I usually never listen to the remix. I have to admit that. I was like, okay.
Right.
Don't need that. I think, and I would have the whole album if it was like Backstreet Boys or something, but I would still buy the singles because they had like different cover art.
I really almost picked Blue Dabba Dee by Eiffel 65 because I also realized that recently David Guetta used it as the basis of a song.
I mean, it's a classic.
It's so good.
I think anyone in that age range, when you say blue, that immediately comes to mind.
Yep.
It's like our PTSD. We're like blue baba dee just like flashbacks. We have like a running segment on Crushin with the 90s, and we're gonna keep with the tradition and talk about the people's sexiest man alive and the most beautiful person for that year. And they were a couple of repeats. We had Richard Gere as the sexiest man and Michelle Pfeiffer, who was the most beautiful person that year. Do you think those were accurate of the time?
I mean, they still are. I'm not gonna lie. It's really hard for those lists because I don't know who exactly is voting for them. Because sometimes I'm just like, oh, well, okay, I could see why you're a conventionally attractive person. But like, I don't know, Michelle Pfeiffer just transcends time, it feels like. And Richard Gere, yeah, I could see him being set. Is this his silver hair phase as well?
He got it in 93.
Yes.
6 years later. I think he would have been graying a little by then, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was kind of getting older in Pretty Woman, but he was still foxy.
Like, to me, peak Richard Gere is when he has, like, silver daddy vibes. The silver hair.
In Pretty Woman. Oh, my Lord. Oh. Pay me to hang out and buy me cool clothes. But do you think that those two were like a good representation to kind of round out the decade before we went into what, exploded with the aughts?
I don't know. I feel like it's difficult because like they were in their 30s, I think, at the time, or 40s. And there's a lot of the WB kids that they could have picked, like Sarah Michelle Gellar.
True. I feel like they never, for those, go too young on the covers. They might be featured inside, but the cover, and maybe a little later they put Channing Tatum on the sexiest, and that's kind of leaning a little young, but they do tend to I think go for our parents' ages. Well, now it's our age because we're the 30-year-olds now.
Don't talk about it, Kendra. We don't talk about it.
I don't know. That Blake Shelton does not represent me or what I think is sexy. I'm still mad about that cover.
Wait, which one?
Blake Shelton. I don't think that's sexy. No. My grandma, who's passed, but she would disagree. That was her favorite.
I just don't know who votes for these. Like, do they just go to the interns in their offices and be like, pick who's sexy?
I think it has to do with who has something to promote or who was big that year and whose managers maybe push them a little more.
That is so true. Never thought of it that way.
It's all about promotion. But so let's get to this because life's but a song. So we're going to start with music of 1999. And I know it's bold to say, but like I said, I do think this was the best year in music. Every single song was a hit, and it was a hit that everybody knew. Do you miss the days when the world felt smaller and we were all kind of singing the same song?
Yes. Yes, I do. I feel like also there was like the late 90s, early aughts was just like a birth of this pop culture, you know, because you get like the former Mickey Mouse Club stars who are now pop stars. So like Christina and Britney, Jennifer Lopez is like out in the world too, and like, you know, on the other side there is still some rap, there's like some rock and roll. So it was a night. I feel like it was just a great year for music,
I'm
personally.
glad that you mentioned the Mickey Mouse Club because, you know, I've been about girl power since the Spice Girls popped onto the scene. And in 1999, it was so perfect because, like, the women making music were making waves. 8 out of the 10 top 10 singles that year were by women. And even today, artists like Dua Lipa and Ariana, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and I can go on, Lizzo, they are like top of the charts. Why do you think women are so, I would like, superior when it comes to making pop music?
I guess because it's like they have messages in their songs that are a little more emotional, and we can go about like toxic masculinity as well, where like men are trained to not show emotions. It's also like this, I want to say like there's like a sexual revolution in music for women too, because like you get Genie in a Bottle. Yeah, Genie, like that one, it's coded in a way because, you know, it's all about sex, but like you have
What?
Christina Aguilera talking about, you know, masturbation. Is that what it is, really?
I think it was a mutual
Okay,
because
but
she
it
wants you to rub her the right
but
way.
like but like, you know, you've got, nowadays we have the controversial WAP, but before then there was other songs about that weren't as explicit but still had like the same vibe.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I mean?
mean, do you remember that song Too Close by Next? That
I don't
song
think I know
is,
that one.
oh, wait, you're dancing real slow. Let's take this.
Oh yeah.
You're making it hard for
I
me.
bought me. Yes.
Like that was played at middle school dances around that time a lot.
Yes.
So I just think back then our parents, the adults, were just like not listening or caring as much to me. I mean, they were just letting anything fly. So,
Right, because like they had White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, and
mm.
that one wasn't as that one was more, a little more explicit about drugs and everything. But like, you know, the 80s had the hair bands that were talking about sex. Pour some sugar on me, come on. But like it's, to use the common phrase, sex sells. And like, I guess if you can get it on TRL, because TRL was like 96 it started.
I believe like it was Total Request. It was just Carson Daly in like 97. And it
Yeah,
was like, and then 98, I think Spring Break, or summer, they sent him out into the world. And then they were like, well, it did well. Let's put him in a studio. And then it exploded into the phenomenon that it was.
because radio was dying out in the late 90s, it feels like, because of it was like more of the birth of the music video.
Mm-hmm.
um and so, not birth, but like, you know, there was music videos becoming more popular and everything, so like that also was more PR and everything to sell these artists.
Yeah, and they were spending so much on videos. They even had making the video come around that time, which was like amazing. I wish we still had that for some videos today. Unfortunately, we don't even get to see the videos on MTV anymore.
No, because now it's all about reality television.
No, and you mentioned Britney and Christina, and I don't like to pit women against each other, but in 1999, it was hard not to draw the comparisons. Do you think that they sort of knew as kids on the Mickey Mouse Club that one day they'd be like Pop's answer to Brandy and Monica?
Oh, you know, I think they would just wanted to like continue their career. I don't, they probably knew that they were going to be compared to each other because like they sound so different. But I don't know, they probably behind the scenes were like, getting cocktails together or whatever, being friends and everything. Because I don't think I can't remember if they were like at each other's throats in the public eye, or was it just the public was like comparing the two? Meanwhile, they're just like, listen to my music, please, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like we as the viewers kind of did the whole like they're enemies, But did you have a favorite out of the two?
At the time or currently?
At the time.
I think it was I think it was Britney.
Yeah, I was a bigger. I like them both, but I think the first couple Britney albums are just. I mean, Oops, from start to finish, I think is one of the best pop records.
I yes. And like, I mean, as to go only in like this year, the 1999, like Baby One More Time, that music video is reached iconic status at current, like really fast. And now it's like, stereotypical Halloween costume, it's like, oh, I've got I've got a button-down shirt and a plaid skirt. Let's find some hair ties.
Yeah, she definitely, that look is on par with like Michael Jackson's like Thriller outfit for music video fashion, and Madonna in the wedding dress and like a virgin. Like she definitely did something there. And I think another war, I mentioned it earlier, that was waged, it was boy bands. I mean, I remember being on the school bus and having to like argue about Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC because everyone knew where I stood with Backstreet Boys. Did you enlist and fight in this war back in the day?
I don't think I did. Because my music taste was very much like what my sister was listening to, and then a ton of pop. So I just like consumed, and then also the occasional Broadway cast recording. So I think it was I don't think I really had a wager in the boy band fight, if you will.
All right, you were kind of like, what is it, Switzerland? Are they the neutral?
Yeah. I mean, like they both had their great songs and everything, and I liked both of them. I don't know. I didn't think any of. I don't remember thinking they were dreamy or like one was better than the other. Because like they both had the same formula where it was like five white guys. Two of them took lead a lot on the songs, and the rest of them were like they had a bad boy, and then there was like a bunch of tall guys. So.
I mean, they had that show a year or so later after 1999 Together, where it was like they just tried to make a fake one, and then I mean, teen girls were we're like, oh, cute boys, we'll take it, even if it's a parody. We loved it.
Yes, Together is such a great example because like they were making fun of it. They had an overweight older person in it, and like the songs, as much as a joke as it was, like Calculus is amazing.
They're so good. Oh my god, Mickey Park, the bad boy of Together, is such a good vocal. Probably one of my top 5 boy band vocalists of all time. So good. But you mentioned toxic masculinity earlier, and I had to bring this up because we had Woodstock 99. Have you watched any of those documentaries and how they break down white toxic masculinity?
Yeah, because they tried to. I remember they tried to like recreate the idea of Woodstock, the 1969 Woodstock, but then all of a sudden, like there was a mud pit and people were thrashing about, and like it got a little violent.
It got wild. The documentary, like HBO and Netflix both dropped them maybe within a month of each other, and they're both really well done. But I think the HBO one does a little better job of the whole masculinity thing, and just the whole Limp Bizkit and DMX performing to all these white people who he then was like, yeah, it's cool, let's say the N-word in this song. It was a wild thing. But I remember being very upset that I couldn't be there because I wanted to see Limp Bizkit. But I was 12 and on the other coast, so I was like, yeah, that's probably not realistic. And then I'm watching the documentary and like how dirty they were, and I hate being dirty. I was like, yeah, no, I would have probably been like, let's go home.
Yeah, it was because I just remember just seeing the mud pit and people like skanking around it, and it just got very opposite what they wanted or what the hope was of Woodstock.
And then let's talk about, we talked about boy bands a minute ago, but I can't ignore the girl groups because TLC, they went so hard at the end of the 90s with No Scrubs, and it was probably the number one song everyone sang on my school bus. What do you think? Do you think that song became their signature and ultimately replaced Waterfalls?
Ooh, I don't think so. I think it was just them going with the times, because like they still, if you really listen to it, and as well on Pretty, like it has the same feel, I feel like, to Waterfalls, but like No Scrubs has a little bit more of a pop beat to it, but it's still like they still stay true to who they are, if that makes any sense at all.
So you think Waterfalls is still like top of their food chain?
I don't want to say that, because like, well, because like they all have different messages and everything, and they're all like, I feel like their songs have this is what I was talking about too. Like they were very emotional with their songs, and like Unpretty, that music video also destroyed me
Oh, so
because
good.
it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So like they weren't pulling punches. While everyone else is talking about sex, they were talking about, hey, love yourself. And also like, hey, don't fall for that guy because he's an asshole and he's mooching off of you. And then Waterfalls is Waterfalls.
Making good points. Yeah, TLC was coming with the messages before we had like a social media like self-care or hashtag and everything. So hey, maybe they're the godmothers of self-care.
I will say though, I think I like Left Eye's rap more in Waterfalls than I do in No Scrubs. How's that?
Okay, I like the No Scrubs one just because I like to do like the movements because she's so robotic with it, and I always do it when I'm like I hear it and I'm out. It's
Yeah,
embarrassing
but
for
that's the
everyone.
thing. That's the thing too. They cut it, I feel
Yes,
like, for
they
the
don't play it on the
single
radio.
or the radio. Yeah, they don't. You can only really get it in the music video at the time. Uh,
No,
I don't think that the single had it, or maybe the album had it.
I thought album had it. I don't think they definitely cut it for radio because now you don't hear it. I went and saw them 2017 did Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I went and they played her part on the screen in the background. So I thought that was a cool homage. So they do
That's
still
nice.
have her in the songs live, thankfully. But
Good.
yeah. And speaking of swinging at the end of the 90s, freaking Cher, the mother of autotune with Believe. My mom is a huge Cher fan, so it was like weird that someone she liked and grew up admiring was like then on my MTV with like all my boy bands. I thought I was like, that's weird, mom. Our lives are crossing over. And in recent years, Cher's been like this prominent queen of Twitter, and she's like going after politicians and everything. Do you think we'll ever hear new music from her again, though? Or do you think she's kind of done?
Um. Well, after she was in Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, she released an album covering ABBA songs, and I do believe that there's plans for a second one of that where she's covering ABBA songs. But in terms of like original songs, I don't think so. Like, who knows though? I don't want. I'm not the be all end all on this. Like, she may be like recording new music right now. Who knows?
Yeah, and Believe was huge, but the number one song that year was what was it? Oh, it was on a soundtrack because movie soundtracks actually still existed and were big deals. It was by Sixpence None the Richer from She's All That. It
Yep.
was Kiss Me. Oh, thank God.
Which
It's for sure up
which
there.
I almost picked that one, but technically the song came out in 1997 or something like that. It came out
Well,
earlier.
the number one in 99, and I think it's part of one of the most iconic scenes in teen movie history. I think it's
Oh,
up
yes.
there. with like The Fist in the Air and The Breakfast Club. And I mean, 1999, it was stacked with teen movies. We had She's All That, Cruel Intentions, 10 Things I Hate About You, Never Been Kissed. List goes on and on and on. And I know John Hughes definitely ushered in the modern day teen movie, but would you say that 1989 could be seen as like a teen movie renaissance?
Well, yes, because also we get American Pie, which was subverting it in a way where like there was Porky's that was also all about sex, but like that was gross. This one, it was like they were trying, like they had some gross humor in it, especially when he was, you know, messing around with the pie, but it it ushered a way into like a newer form of this kind of teen tropey sex romp.
And why do you think so many of those movies were based around bets and makeovers?
Like, I guess that was them trying to justify things where it's like you want to win, right? So you want to make sure that you can transform this girl, this already very attractive woman who's wearing glasses and has a ponytail and wears paint cover overalls, to kind of like quote not another teen movie, and then you just take the glasses off and the hair down and all of a sudden, wow, she's stunning. Like she's been stunning the whole time.
I know, it's Rachel Lee Cook, for Christ's sake.
Right. And then Julia Stiles, who like just has an attitude adjustment, but still she's very attractive the whole movie in 10 Things I Hate About You.
I know. There was like no real makeover there. It's just she had to smile or something. Maybe she not threaten to run you over with her car.
Yes.
Really quick, let's rank the male leads from these 8 classic movies from meh to oh, he's fine. Because
okay.
we said that back in 99. He's fine. So we're going to do Freddie Prinze and She's All That, Ryan Phillippe in Cruel Intentions, Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You, Mr. Coulson in Never Been Kissed, Jason Biggs in American Pie, James Van Der Beek in Varsity Blues, Adrian Grenier in Drive Me Crazy, one of my favorites, and Devon Sawa in Idle Hands.
I don't know Drive Me Crazy. You Drive Me Crazy? I think I've seen that one. I'm pretty sure I have, because that was also Melissa Joan Hart, right? With the Britney song. It's
a bet makeover type one.
Okay, I'm gonna put him last because I just don't know him. I don't know him. Like that's it. That's the only real reason. Who was the American Pie? Jason Biggs that you picked?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's put him next. Cause like, yeah, he wasn't. I don't know. I was more interested in oh crap, what was his name? The taller one.
Like Chris Klein?
Chris Klein, yes. He was more my style back then. Okay, so Devon Sawa would be next on this list. Yeah, I mean they're all cute, I'm not gonna lie. They're all really attractive men. Like they could have been in the sexiest man alive if they were going for like more teenagers or young adults. Mm-hmm. See, I'm torn as to like he's fine because like I love 10 Things I Hate About You, but Freddie Prinze is just so pretty. You know what I mean?
Especially in that movie.
Yeah. I'm breaking your rules. They're tied for he's so fine. And then just filter in the rest.
So Freddie and Heath kind of take number 1, and then the rest kind of.
Yeah. Do you agree?
I would probably pick Ryan Phillippe in that era. If we're just sticking to 1989, what I was feeling, because Cruel Intentions, it was just like, whoa, it like sexually awoke a generation to me. It had everything you could possibly imagine. It was such a naughty movie. But I think another movie that was kind of like that for a lot of people looking back and like with the online culture is The Mummy. I often see people say their sexual like identity is like enwrapped in the 3 main characters of that.
You're right.
Do you think it's because it was a good movie or because it was just like such a beautiful cast?
It's such a beautiful cast. Like you have every type you want. You have the priestess or princess. I forget what her role is, but like she's body painted gold, and like she's wearing these very like basically just fabric wrapped around her, like barely. And so like you have her, she's very attractive, and then you have the person who's playing the mummy who's shirtless half the time, so you get some like, but he's also like not ripped, because if it was made today, you know, he'd have like a 10-pack, you know, bulging biceps and everything. He was in shape. He's in shape, but like it wasn't like, you know, very well defined, but still very sexy. And then you have Brendan Fraser, who is dreamy, and then Rachel Weisz, who is also dreamy. I mean, like, she's a little stuck up, but at the end, like when she lets loose and the hair is down and everything, you're like, ah, I see this. I understand now.
Today it's just like every time you see those lists about what sexually awoke you growing up, The Mummy is just on there for so many people.
It was probably for me too, and now that I think about it.
Mine was definitely Cruel Intentions. I was just like, what is this? The scene with when they finally have sex and it's the Counting Crows are playing. Oh my god, when she's like going up the escalator and he's in that beautiful blue shirt. Oh, just that shade of blue does it for me.
I actually have not seen this movie, and I'm very upset with myself. I know. Maybe I'll watch it afterwards.
Tonight, watch it and become amazed. You see Ryan Phillippe's butt at 12 years old. That was everything to me. Being 35, still everything to me. It's such a good movie. So good. But another pretty stellar cast that came in 1999, it was The Matrix. And I think, movie aside, it had all this techie stuff going on. And like you mentioned, Y2K, it just kind of all went aligned. Did you believe that shit was gonna hit the fan when the ball dropped that New Year's Eve?
So again, I was 12, so I didn't really have the highest grasp on everything, but like, you know, we were ready, but not like how I think a lot of people were, with like the lanterns and like candles and, you know, storage of like non-perishable foods and things like that. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect, and then it was just like, it turned out, spoiler alert, it turned out that it was like a couple of cash registers in like Texas didn't work, and that's it.
Oh no. Yeah, I was always like, well, it becomes the new year in other countries first, so wouldn't we kind of see it coming? That was like my whole rationale when I was younger. I was like, I think you guys haven't thought this through.
Well, and then it probably woke you up to realize, America thinks it's the center of the universe.
Yes, because every disaster movie takes place in New York City or LA.
Right. Yes.
Never in like Minnesota.
No.
Because I mean, I couldn't tell you where that is on a map. So I'm not
it's somewhere.
I mean, I moved to Virginia and last year, and I'm like, I still don't quite understand where everything is around here.
You look at a map and you're just like, I'm so confused right now.
I mean, time zones still. I'm like, whoosh, what does all this mean?
Especially these days when you're podcasting, you're like, okay, so you live in England, and that is crap, Fibonacci sequence and the Pythagorean theorem will help me out, as well as, you know, learning my history, and let's do Newton's law of motion to figure out what time zone you're in.
I know. Oh my god, Europe, I'm like, you might be in a whole nother week, so I don't know what's going on over there.
We don't talk about Australia. They're 3 years ahead of us.
Yeah. It takes you like 7 years to fly there. Who knows? Never going there. So.
But also, I feel like we also need to talk about The Sixth Sense, because like
I just saw that a couple years ago
for the first time.
I knew, yeah, but I knew the spoiler. So it was good. That
was like the biggest shock, because like it was a big surprise. Nobody really saw it coming, or like if you did, you weren't you probably were like that douchebag, i.e. me, like I saw it the whole time, blah blah blah. Nobody was talking because like that was the one where you found out and then people probably went back to watch it again or rented it from Blockbuster, yes, Blockbuster, and rewatched it just to be like pick up on things. And this is before the internet really boomed.
Yeah. Before you had like a bunch of YouTubers like, let's break down the 20 Easter eggs from the Sixth Sense.
Right. Yes. So that movie I feel like was great, and then he's been trying to achieve that same success and doing the same thing but failing. So and that is my hot take on M. Night Shyamalan.
So you don't think do you think he's ever going to match it?
No. Because like now we're expecting it.
Like that new one coming out, the like Knock on the Cabin Door. Well,
that one's also based off of a book. Oh, so you have a book. He didn't. He may have written the script, but like there's a thing that it's based off of. So like, I'm sorry, I'm also mesmerized by your Chicken McNugget picture.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. I hope you're gonna post it on your socials. You have to.
It's my Facebook.
Okay.
Main profile picture, I guess that's what it's called. Yeah.
Great.
She's out there.
But also, so we have The Sixth Sense, which was a great slow burn horror movie, but then you have The Blair Witch Project.
I just watched that a couple months ago.
Which redefined horror because like it was so low budget. They actually used the internet, the early days of the internet, to their advantage as marketing. Because there was the whole BlairWitchProject.com or whatever the website was, and like they treated it as if it was a real thing. So people were very concerned and thought like, these people died. We watched a snuff film, but really they're actors. So that was like another big shock that came out that year.
And it being using the early days of the internet, not everyone had the internet too, so it made it even more believable, because if you couldn't log on and kind of see, you're like, well, I just have to take everyone's word for it. And sure, these people, it's totally real. I watched it though, and I was like, maybe it was like a time and place thing, because I didn't really get the magic of it, because so much since then has just copied its style, I guess.
Yes.
And yeah, so many YouTubers are doing what the movie did, so.
Because it wasn't the first to do the found footage approach to it, but it was the one that became most popular.
It kind of like, it set the bar.
Yes.
Very early on. And one more movie that I think we can't move on without is The Green Mile, because it is a movie that makes me, I have only seen it once, because it's one of those where one and done. It's like Precious, Beast of No Nation. It's just like so sad that I could never repeat. Was that something you watched? I can't imagine watching this as a kid though. I watched this as an adult.
I still haven't seen it, but I'm very surprised that came out this year, in 1999. I thought that was like a 2000s movie.
I think I might have swung in at the end.
No, I believe you, but I'm saying like my brain is saying this is a early 2000s movie. So you sent me the list of things, and that wasn't even on my radar. Fight Club was, but not that one.
You should. Fight Club. I've never seen it, but it gets heralded as such a favorite among so many people, and it has the big twist as well.
Yeah,
1999. You're the twist.
Well, 1999 was just also like it. Looking at these lists that you sent me of like music and TV and film and everything, it was just like experimentation. It felt like. It was like the Woodstock is a great example of it, where it happened in '69, and then those people who probably were kids at the time who wanted to go recreated it by the time they were adults. Granted, they used the 30 years as an excuse, but like that's what it felt like this year was, or this decade was, where like the people in the 60s and 70s who were experimenting in art and film and television and music and everything like that grew up and were like, let's experiment some more, let's keep it going. And so yeah, you have all these great things, and a lot of them unfortunately didn't go anywhere. Like Freaks and Geeks, that show, I've seen that after 1999, and it was just like, wow, this is really fascinating of a show, and I wish there was more of it.
Speaking of, let's talk about TV now, because like I said, the music made this year for me, but TV, it wasn't disappointing. I mean, The Sopranos gave way to our favorite trope in modern TV, which is the anti-hero. But do you think Tony Soprano is still the best anti-hero, or has someone surpassed him in all the years since? Because I think there's been some great ones.
I don't feel like we see that many anti-heroes as the lead. Because like you could make an argument about how Deadpool is an anti-hero, but like Deadpool is weird because he's also a hero. He has heroic intentions, but like he goes about it in like a very murderous way. So
it's like Dexter or Walter White.
Yeah, Dexter was pretty interesting. I'm failing you, Kendra. I haven't seen The Sopranos, so I can't.
I just know about it.
I can't really say definitively that Tony Soprano is like the best anti-hero lead ever. But yeah, like I understand. It's great though that show came out, because then we have the Dexters and the Walter Whites and the other people that you've seen. It's all men now that I think about it. That's weird.
Yeah, I feel like I honestly can't name a female anti-hero, because I'd have to think long and hard. I don't know if we have had one yet. So hey, that's something for the 2020.
Maybe Charlize Theron in Monster. But like, that's a movie. You want a series,
yeah,
right?
like a show, like a TV show.
Yeah, I can't think of one. That's so weird.
2023. This is the year for the female anti-hero.
Let's get it. Let's get it, everyone.
And we've never seen The Sopranos, but it gets talked about to this day. I mean, I know what the show is, know what it's about, everything. And it left the air, I think, in 2007. But two other shows that premiered that year, still going strong: Family Guy and SpongeBob. Would you have bet that a cartoon about a sponge would have lasted over 20 years and pretty much become the face of Nickelodeon? A sponge.
No, I would not have expected that. Well, also, Family Guy got canceled twice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like SpongeBob, isn't the main show done, but now they're doing spin-offs?
I think the main one's still going, and then they have the spin-off.
Oh, fascinating.
Camp Coral or something like that.
I wasn't really into SpongeBob.
Really?
Like I've seen it a bunch of times. It wasn't for a lack of trying, let me tell you. It's just, I don't know. I felt like I was maybe a little older for it, or like he's definitely annoying. I will. You can't argue with me on that one. SpongeBob is annoying, but I don't know. I think like, it has some great moments, like the fun song, and there are some moments in it that like live in my head rent free. But like overall, I wasn't really a fan of the show.
You said you were a little older, which meant you were probably you had another favorite show on Nickelodeon, Rocket Power, which I think was like taking those extreme sports that we all were like kind of fascinated with at the time and putting it in cartoon form. What about Rocket Power was like it for you? Because I also a big fan.
I think it was just because it was like a child version of Seinfeld. Like, it's really about nothing if you think about it. It's four friends hanging out, and like maybe they're doing something in episode, but like the surf contest ends and then that's it. Or like I also kind of felt like Sam, the new kid character, because like he was a little well, this was also very interesting because he was overweight, and like I was a bigger kid, so I kind of saw myself in Sam, although I wasn't a tech nerd, nor really into skateboarding. But I don't know. It was a fun show. I loved it. And
really
like,
good.
what's her name? The older sister character had like purple hair, and that was so cool.
No, I mean her name is Reggie Rocket. How cool is that?
Reggie Rocket, that's right.
And the dad owned like this cool restaurant on the boardwalk. They were living the life.
Like that was California. Like as a kid who grew up in New York, like I wanted to be there. I wanted California. That laid back lifestyle.
It definitely captures LA if you live near the beach. But I will say, like, they had that term for the tourists, the shoebies, because they'll wear the shoes at the beach. In the summer, that's what we told me. I would definitely be on the bus going to work in Santa Monica, and it would be full of tourists, and I'd be like, freaking shoebie. Stupid.
Yep. And the little handshake that they had.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Wiggity, wiggity.
Wiggity, wiggity, wiggity.
And me and my little brother was like a big like skateboard kid at the time, so we love that show. And I'll still text him like wiggity wiggity once I learned to spell
like
it.
I saw somebody post on Instagram the other day like what was airing on Nickelodeon. I believe it though it was 1998. Not 99, but like all the shows there, they had like all that. They had Doug. They had all these other shows that were very formative for me. And I was like, I watched all of them. I don't know how. I watched all of the shows.
I don't think kids today realize how impactful Nickelodeon used to be. I don't know if kids are still watching it with the same like fervor as we did. Because like my nephew's like playing Roblox or something, or he's always on his phone. He's not like in love with TV like I think our generation was, which I think's sad. Like, what are you going to talk about when you're 35 and you start a podcast? Roblox?
But like that's the thing though, these days there's just so much content. Like there was Kids WB, there was Nickelodeon, there was Disney Channel for those of you that could pay for it. And then like we didn't have that. And then it wasn't like children were watching it, but like MTV and VH1 had some fun programming that like we watched. Cause like MTV was starting, this was like still their like learning what reality television is. Because Real World happened already, and so now we have all these dating shows that like Room Raiders or what was like Next, thank you.
So good.
And then later in the 2000s there was Becoming, which my god, I would have murdered people to be on that show.
What one?
Becoming? Do you not remember that one?
Mm-mm.
That's the one where you recreate a music video.
Oh, okay.
And you get like the star treat. They fly you out to LA or wherever for like a week, and like you're rehearsing. You get a makeover. Allegedly the person that you're becoming gives you like a package, like all these a gift package of all these things that they love. It's really probably their PR person who sends it. And then you shoot the music video in like 2-3 days. Yeah.
Okay.
Kendra, if you could find it.
I know. I was always into Fanatic. I wish they would bring that back. When you got to meet your like favorite celebrity and interview them. I was always really jealous. Like your friend would like be in on it, and then they'd surprise you and they'd whisk you away and like, you're gonna meet Britney Spears or Eminem or whoever was big. And that was the one I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be on the Backstreet Boy one. And I was so mad the girl who won. was like, oh, she's not a bigger fan. But she had like Backstreet Boy pillows. And to this day, I'm still so jealous of those pillows.
We can make you some pillows.
You could order them, I think, at the end of one of their VHSs, and we just didn't have the money. And my best friend had money, and I'm like, how come she never got them? It's like I could have had her Nick Carter one by now because I know she would have just given it to me. and in 1999, we had like a lot of new shows, but some shows that ended were like Home Improvement, Melrose Place, and The Nanny. Which of those three would you say left the most iconic, lasting impression on television?
The Nanny. The Nanny was everything, because like it's a rags to riches story. It had some. I recently rewatched the whole series. There was some like important, very special episodes of The Nanny, you know. But like Fran Drescher made a character that was so iconic.
I would agree with that. I think back in the day, Home Improvement, Melrose Place, definitely watching around, like I would like not miss. But I think The Nanny, because of the internet, is just so much more memeable and the gifs. And Fran is just, I think, a better character. Like you said, I think it's more iconic than a Tim Taylor or Amanda from Melrose. Even though I love her.
Right, and like also the fashions of it was is a time capsule of the 90s, because like as great as the teen movies were, especially Clueless, which happened like 3 or 4 years earlier than 1999, like Fran Drescher wore a lot of clothes, and it was always loud and bold prints and fur and, you know, leather. Like it was she wore everything.
You mentioned Clueless. It was another show that ended that year, but it should have never began. I don't think they needed to make a TV series out of a hit movie, but they had a great theme song. Were you a fan of that? Were you like, oh yeah, that was something?
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. I didn't watch it.
I like the theme song.
The movie is just so precious to me. But like I don't think at the time I knew there was a Clueless TV show. Like I think I learned about it afterwards.
Well, it was crazy because it had everyone mostly except Cher was replaced. Like Dion, Murray, Amber, all the same, and then some other white
Cher
girl.
was different, yeah.
So it was like, But okay, so we're gonna do some popcorn questions. So they're all 90s based. 1 through 50. We're gonna do 5 of them. So just give me a number and that'll be your question.
Let's do 37.
37. If Brandy and Monica both wanted you to be their boy, who do you think would win your heart?
Brandy.
All right. Yeah, same. Sitting up in my room and Anthem.
Well, it's mostly because of Cinderella.
Everyone. She's the Cinderella.
She's the Cinderella. She could sing. She's a great actress. Like that movie was also very, very special, and in like a positive way. You know, it's not like you watch a lot of like on my podcast, Life's But a Song plug. I do a lot of movies that people watched as kids, and I was just like, this isn't great. But like this is one movie that like I think across the board everyone agrees to this day is amazing.
Yeah, it like stands the test of time. It's not like, whoa, it was good when I was 5, but you know I still love it because this nostalgia factor. This one, a good
right,
one.
and like it was an all-star cast, and Brandy and Whitney Houston working together. It was beautiful.
I think she's gonna reprise her role. I heard.
Oh,
Brandy, maybe I'm making
I don't
that.
know.
I have COVID, so you know my brain. If I'm lying, it's COVID. If I'm not, then I'm smart. So, next number.
Okay, so let's go lower. Let's do 15.
15. Oh, is there a TV series finale from the 90s that stands out as a favorite of yours?
See, we talked about The Nanny, and that's the only one I really could think of. Because, like, they literally turned the lights off on the set, and that's the end of it. So I think I'm going to go with that.
It's a good way to end a show
Yeah.
when you do. I always think like people usually do weddings, births, a move, so it's kind of
Right. And this is a move. They're moving.
mm-hmm. It's a good way. I hate when a show when you watch it for so long. If it's more than 4 seasons and then it ends bad, I get really like personally upset. Like, why did you do this to me?
Another thing too is Ryan Murphy's first foray into teen comedy drama, Popular, like
Oh,
second season. I believe that's actually technically 2000, but I'm gonna count it because it started in '99. The second season, the season finale, is a cliffhanger.
I know.
So
Upset.
and I believe that's also the one where they like show snippets of what's to come in season 3, and it's just like bonkers things, like somebody is an alien, another person is skiing randomly. Yeah, but that show gave us the introduction of Leslie Grossman, and I'm so happy. Mary Cherry.
Like like that was on like WB, which now we can have the CW and those shows. Why in something under that umbrella just gets wild. Riverdale. You could say Popular kind of burst Riverdale in a way for wacky ass plots.
Yeah, yeah, but then like you have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is high school as hell, and it was very interesting how that show morphed over time, because like it started with like a monster of the week, and then it turned into like, oh, now we're gonna do an overarching villain, and we're gonna have a big bad, and but like all these other random episodes too. So yeah, then the '90s, like I said, is just experimentation. Like I feel like we're also back into that with like A24 films and everything, and also the Marvel universe. But like back in the '90s, it was just a lot of like wild shit that like there was no gray. It was either a hit or a miss.
What I loved about the 90s, especially with TV, and I think we are, like you said, seeing it now, is that a show like we had a hit show with, say, like the family shows, like the sitcoms, the traditionals, Full House, everything. But then you had a show like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, which was like, I mean, that's a weird concept. I feel like it was probably on CBS because that's what like older people watch. But I mean, you could just have a hit anywhere. And now we have the show called Ghosts on CBS. It's just an interesting time. TV's always kind of, I think ever since like you said, the 90s, we've just been like, throw it at the wall and let's see if it sticks. And that's where we are again, because now we have like something like Stranger Things, but you also have like my mom's favorite show, Bob Loves Asciola, or whatever it is on CBS.
And then you also have all of the Mike Flanagan Netflix shows, like The Haunting of Bly Manor. I just watched The Midnight Club. So like we're getting weird things, but like it's all on different streaming services, so like half the stuff that happens people don't really know about it because it's not on their radar.
Yeah, which is kind of sad. I miss those like the times when we only had a few channels, so you go to school and everyone was kind of watching the same thing. And now we have that same kind of feeling with like Twitter. You can kind of go to the hashtag that night and see what's popping, but it's not the same as like I remember watching American Idol and like going to school and we'd all be talking about like, oh my god, you see that crazy audition and everything. So I miss those times.
Right. It was TV for us was all water cooler chat. Without the water coolers.
Yeah, like the day after the VMAs back in the 90s, ooh, the school bus was flutter at the winners. So what's your next number?
Okay, so you know what? Let's do 50.
What would you have put in Nickelodeon's time capsule?
See, my answer would be Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that didn't happen until later. Because that show was like 2003, 2004. So 99 Nickelodeon. All that. Because like that was SNL for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't live by any means, but still.
No.
And like, okay, fun story. So Nickelodeon had like a concert series that like toured the country in like the summer. And when I was a kid, I went to it and they had an audition booth for all that.
Ooh.
I don't think I ever really tell anyone this. And like I have really bad stage fright, but I still auditioned and they were like, do an impression and you do a couple impressions and then we'll get back to you. Never did. But still, it was fun. And so like that was my first professional audition.
I mean, can't beat the all that. Who was on the tour?
I can't remember. It's been so.
Probably...
Kendra, I barely remember yesterday. Like at this point,
get the all that summer tour.
But I mean, the fact that I remember auditioning for all that is an accomplishment. So give me that. So, but like, I don't know. There's something about all that where it was just fun and like it was kids doing these things, and like we had a wide cast of kids, and Kenan Thompson is now like owning SNL.
Yeah. He's like the master of sketch comedy.
He's the one. I mean, all of them were very great and talented over the years. I thought it was going to be Lori Beth Denberg who had a bigger career out of everyone, just because of the Vital Information and the librarian sketches that she did.
Yeah, she was. I think she does bit parts here and there. When she popped up on Workaholics, it was like, oh my god,
nostalgia.
Yes. I always say,
Oh, I was gonna say, well, you finish.
I was gonna Workaholics was kind of like the first show to kind of be done by millennials, so they have a lot of like 90s references and everything. So I always respect the Workaholics guys for that. Like,
so the popcorn question was about what would you put in time capsule from the 90s Nickelodeon. What would you do?
I would probably put Clarissa Explains It All.
Yes.
Because she is like why we have like the Hannah Montanas, everything. The network just was not believing a female could lead a show. They were like, boys won't watch a show led by a female, and she proved them wrong. That's why we have Alex Mack and then Raven and everything else. I really give Felicity so much credit for that, and her mom as well. She's like a powerhouse behind the scenes of getting everything done, and thankfully so, because Sabrina.
Well, and like Clarissa Explains It All was just again another show that was like every day. Like Alex Mack, at least she has a superpower, but Clarissa was just a girl surviving the world. And that's what I think also was relatable, because like representation for teenagers, boy, whatever gender you want to identify as, like that was it. You had the annoying brother trope, which was fun for, especially if you were the older, for you specifically, because you're the oldest, right? Between you and your brother, there's no other siblings.
I have an older brother, but he's so much older that he didn't live with us. So I was kind of like the older sister in the house.
So like this show probably spoke to you more because you are the oldest with your household family. But yeah, I mean, like, it was great. It was a great show.
Yeah, and it was just so, I mean, nobody on it, because like nowadays the kid would be like a TikTok star and she'd look like a model, and Melissa Joan Hart just looked like a normal kid that you would have in your classroom, and that's what I appreciated.
And she was a child. It wasn't like she was a 20-year-old playing a child.
Yeah, we didn't have like a Gary Coleman situation happening. So your next number?
Let's do 6.
When it comes to TV dads, which one was the best in the 90s?
Like all of the 90s, not just 99, you mean?
Yeah, all of the 90s.
This is hard. Because I don't know what shows were specifically 90s and what were 80s. Because like...
I think like if it bled into the 90s, we count it. So we do have like Roseanne and Full House, but I consider those 90s shows. They were at the back end of the 80s.
I mean, I think Carl Winslow was a great dad. Because like the weird thing about dads in the 90s is that it was always, now at the end of the episode, it was, now I need to teach you the lesson that this is the theme of this episode. But I feel like, I don't know, Reginald VelJohnson, like, he was always angry at not his kids. Let's put it that way. He was angry at Steve, and
rightfully so.
Right, but like then he would have great moments with his family. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Carl Winslow as TV Dad.
Nice. And for your last number.
Well, who would you pick? I wanna hear your choice.
Going 90s, and I could count the 80s shows, I would pick Dan Connor. I just love Roseanne.
Okay.
When we talk about representation, I always say it's not just like race or sexuality, but also class. And as like a kid that grew up with not a lot of money, I like seeing a family that kind of struggled with working parents. So I always love Roseanne. Now the Connors, but yeah.
You know what's also interesting? The two of us picked overweight dads.
I mean, my dad is so.
Well, but like, you know, that's the other thing too, that it's like bigger plus size actors like don't get the love and respect that they should, especially these days. But like, you know, you don't have to be in shape to be like the perfect dad, and that's what it's showing you.
And like Carl and Dan, very just average people. They had like normal jobs too. It was like, I mean, like Danny Tanner was great, but like how many dads are like on the freaking morning news?
Right. And then also what was the one that I was just thinking of? I can't, like, Maxwell Sheffield is a Broadway producer. Who does that? And they live in a mansion. Like, come on.
New York.
Okay. So my last number. I'm debating if I want to do like a 20s number or a 40s number. Let's do 21, just because.
That's the one I was hoping. Okay. Okay. Darkwing Duck, which was the anime show. Mighty Ducks, the movie. DuckTales, another cartoon. What do you think our obsession with ducks was in the 90s? There were so many ducks. I'm always thinking about this.
So with Mighty Ducks, I think it was just like the move that they did, the flying V or whatever it was called. So I like Darkwing Duck and DuckTales were also the byproducts of Donald Duck in a way.
Yeah, they're like Disney.
Yeah, because Donald came first, and DuckTales was like his nephews.
Yeah. That he like dropped off with this rich older uncle.
Yes. And then Darkwing Duck had no direct ties to Donald Duck, if I remember correctly. It's just that they're both ducks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's also like Marvel had Howard the Duck, which was an alien duck. I guess ducks are just fascinating creatures because like they have feathers, but they're always dry, even though they're in water half the time. They're both like a land and sea creature in a way. Granted, they're above the water. You know, they don't really go into it. I don't know. I guess it's maybe it is just the versatility of it, where like they can swim on water and, you know, like dive their head down and grab a fish, but then they waddle on land with all of with all the ducklings.
The magic of ducks.
The magic of ducks. Ducks are just a magical creature. I wonder if they're a Patronus.
In the 90s, the ducks were it. Let me tell you. So, if you were the age you are now in 1999, what do you think you would be doing?
More drugs. No.
That has been everybody's answer, or they were like, I'd be dead.
99. Let's see. What was like I do I exist at the age I was in 99, or am I now?
So you're the age you are now.
Okay. I don't know. I think I might be living the same life. You know, working theater, If I have today's mindset, I would start a podcast back then and be the very first podcaster ever.
Get on that YouTube chain.
Get on this. Be like, hey guys, listen. Because like I was also really obsessed with radio DJs, and I guess that's why I podcast nowadays. Like I guess I would try and like work on radio or something, and or like I said, just start a podcast.
You'd be like Frasier Crane.
Oh my God, yes. But not a doctor, because I can't do school.
I know. I always think about going back. I'm like, can you really sit in a classroom, girl? No. Do you want to be around people again? No.
What's your answer for this?
If I could be my age now in 99, it'd be weird if I was like 35 going to like the TRL studio every day of my life, screaming outside. But I would probably just be like going to a lot more concerts. Maybe I'd have kids. Because if I was 35 then, I'd be what? A Gen X? A boomer?
A Gen X, yeah.
So I'd probably just be taking my kid. I'd probably like into boy bands, but like not hardcore. But I'd be taking my kids to the show, to Backstreet Boys shows, and I would, that'd probably be my life.
Interesting.
Hopefully, just watching TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we would have met at Woodstock.
Yeah, I would have went to Woodstock, definitely, to see Korn. Loved me some Korn back in the day. But Limp Bizkit for sure.
Limp Bizkit, of course.
But I would have tried to be like a groupie. That would have been for like those new metal bands. Can you imagine? I bet those girls have some stories. Let's hear them one day. I hope to hear them. That's my documentary. So, before we go and say adios to 1999, can you tell us where we can find you online again?
So you can listen to my podcasts, Movie Deja Vu and Life's But a Song, anywhere you're listening to this one, basically. You can find Life's But a Song anywhere at But a Song Pod, and you can find Movie Deja Vu on Instagram at Movie Deja Vu Pod. Yeah. I could send you the, well, you follow me, right? You can use it. Yeah, they'll probably be in the show notes somewhere too. Who knows?
Oh, they will, because I want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to me about everything 1999. And like you said, you can find all the information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.